Ladies and gentlemen, I'll switch back to German. We have an international presentation now. First part in English, second part in German. This will be a presentation on contract manufacturing. What means that? There are daily new challenges, daily new fight against what you have to do. But what is very exciting here, if people really take on this topic and think about how we can turn this challenge into an opportunity, maybe. And on that, two people will speak to us. I would like to welcome Stefan Kempf, Managing Director of Kempf CNC Technik GmbH, and Peter Doyle, CEO of Hirsch Precision Products Inc. Ich freue mich sehr, dass Sie hier sind.
Guten Morgen. Hört man mich?
Erst Deutsch, dann Englisch.
Hallo, guten Morgen auch von meiner Seite.
Good morning. I would like to welcome you again to today's topic. My name is Stefan Kempf. I'm Managing Director of the Norban Kempf CNC Technik GmbH. Before we dive into our actual topic, I would like to quickly present our company to you so that you can understand the context we're working in on the flexible manufacturing philosophy. Right. In St. Ingbert-Rohrbach in Saarland, in our standard location, we produce on 4,000 square meters of production floor with 100 employees in a 3-shift operation for almost all manufacturing branches. What's interesting here is that actually every day we have new working parts in the process planning or the contract manufacturing. So that is one hint to the flexibility that we have to deliver. And in addition, we also work on highly complex workpieces with over 1,000 inspection characteristics. We did also deal with 2,000 of these in the past. So that's, yeah, very, very hard to meet these expectations. Now, our entire part portfolio consists of over 18,000 different parts. They have been manufactured at some point, they have been planned at some point, so everything is there in order to get them back directly into manufacturing. The batch sizes we're dealing with range from 1 to 500, and what's interesting here is a number. We have an automized tool storage, so we can have 800 cutting tool transfers for our manufacturing centers. We've been doing this since 2014, and tool management is so very safe with us that up to today we have never had a collision or a crash because of missing tool data or a missing tool that simply wasn't delivered. Our flexible manufacturing systems come with 1,600 pallet transfers daily. This regards raw materials, but also the work pieces. Now, the product groups we deal with, we manufacture goods for pneumatics, we manufacture for automotive industry. Here you can see very complex parts, components. We're not in a series production there. This is more a niche business for prototypes, for example, or small batch sizes. 1,000 parts per year, for example. We also manufacture for hydraulics, prototypes in general, and another branch that we manufacture for is machining pallets for any machine tool manufacturers that we produce for. So this is the mix of working parts that we need to handle with cast parts, aluminum parts, nickel-containing parts. I don't think there's anything that we have not dealt with. Now, what are our strengths? Our main strength, I would say, for us is the fully automated setup of our machines. So parts are manufactured for the first time with us, and then the follow-up manufacturing doesn't cost anything, which is why we can offer prices independent of the batch sizes. And that comes with high utilization. They are higher than 90% in our flexible manufacturing sites. By means of automation, we can guarantee very safe and reproducible processes. The first worked part always is a perfect one, which then leads to a very high OEE, of course. Another main strength and the actual topic of this presentation is our flexible manufacturing philosophy. In our production sites, we are able to manufacture any part by any machine in all of our different workshops. That is what we believe flexibility is. And we also have extremely short throughput times. Now, let's look at this in more detail. What are the special challenges for the supplier industry, for our size, the company Kempf? We always have to deal with fluctuating production volumes. We never know what we will have to deal with in 2 weeks and 3 weeks. And that is what we need to react to in a flexible way. We have a very high part mix. I mentioned that 18,000 different parts are in our portfolio, and new parts keep coming in, and the range of parts keeps changing. And that is one of the main challenges we are facing in our company. And the only response to that I have found for these challenges is, of course, our flexible manufacturing philosophy that comes with automation, of course. Without automation, it's simply not possible. Now, I already touched upon this. The highest degree of flexibility always means that every machine can run any part. And that is our reality in our workshops. What is a precondition for that? Of course, a very good cutting tool management and enabling every machine to have access to every tool. In addition, in our workshops, we have a machine monoculture. We have 23 horizontal machine centers. There are no standalone machines. They are all exactly the same. They are all 4-axis machines. And before we introduce a 5-axis machine and before we destroy our monoculture, we would first maybe get rid of that component. We simply don't approach actually working at machining it. We would never destroy our monoculture of machines. So uniform tools, of course, come with uniform pallet interfaces and cutting tools so that automation is guaranteed. Now, what does that actually look like? On the top right, you can see 3 flexible manufacturing systems. There's an arrow here on this picture. There are 300 raw material pallets and 200 machine pallets. On the top left, you can see the 21 identical 4-axis machining centers. All of these are connected to the automated tool supply. You can see that in the center here, that's the central tool storage in one hall, and then in the next hall there's a gantry robot a gantry tool storage with a capacity of 4,000 tool pots. And within the machine themselves, we have 1,500 tools available. That means that we have 5,500 tools available in an automized way with 5 robots. And these systems are located in different halls, so the robots go back and forth between the halls and transport the tools in an automated way and in parallel, so that there are never downtimes.
Okay. Gut. Also
Right. I would like to also mention that we have raw materials handling in our FMS systems. They are integrated in these systems in order to save production area. And this comes with a lot of benefits. If raw material is saved near the production hall, that is simply very beneficial for the entire process. Now, what are the advantages that we have because of our flexible manufacturing? We do not have to deal with any waiting times due to bottlenecks on a specific machine. That simply doesn't happen because any machine can deal with any part. As I said, I talked about fluctuating order amounts. If there's one product, for example, that is specifically ordered and we have never dealt with it before, 3, 4, 5 machines can then start and manufacture it and deal with these order peaks, so we can balance out the entire capacity of our production plants, and that is a major advantage. Surely, if I don't have a bottleneck, of course, I have also shorter throughput times. And as I mentioned, the utilization of the total production capacity can be planned a lot better. Now, what are the competitive advantages that come with this, with the flexible manufacturing philosophy? Well, I think that is actually very clear. We have batch size independent prices. That is a major competitive advantage. We have flexible production capacities for order peaks, but also for smaller size orders, smaller orders. We have short throughput times and consistently high quality, thanks to these safe and reproducible and automated processes. Because of the high OEE, our entire utilization of the system is great. Utilization is always at over 90%, 95%, 97%. We have also experienced, and all of that with only a few employees. So there is little labor costs per unit due to the high productivity. That is a major competitive advantage. Right, I don't have much time left. Only a short thing that I would like to add, a question that might come up. Is the system not so flexible if new parts come into the system? But that is not the case, really. We have one machine where we manufacture these first articles, the yellow orders. So the entire process planning in advance happens in advance of the actual production order. And then we transfer, after the generation of the first article, we simply transfer them to the serial production. So the initial setup for validation of the planning happens on a dedicated machining center, and then it is transferred to the serial production. There is access to the entire tool pool, and all of the tools are then spread out to the machines where they are needed. All of that is automized. Right. I don't have any time left. That was it. I would like to pass the floor now to Peter Doyle. He has a few more topics to cover. I would like to thank you for your attention.
Please do that.
Oh, thank you. Good morning. Thank you, Stefan, for the presentation and for your leadership in flexible manufacturing. I don't speak German, but I understand what he said. If you don't know Norbert Kemp CNC technique and haven't had a chance to learn more about them, I encourage you to see it and see what they have achieved. My name is Peter Doyle. I'm the CEO and owner at Hirsch Precision. Hirsch Precision is a small but rapidly growing machining company based out of Colorado in the US. And over the next few minutes, I want to share with you a complementary story for how we moved into a flexible manufacturing philosophy. What you've seen is a mature, established program, and what I'll share with you is more of a journey. And so I'll tell you a little bit about our company, where we've been, the roadmap for our future flexible manufacturing, and a possible approach you can take to implement flexible manufacturing practices. Hirsch Precision was founded in 1979. We operate out of about 6,000 square meters. We operate about 30 CNC machines, a variety of Akumas, DMG Moris, and Tsugami's. Our vision at Hirsch is to preserve and improve quality of life through precision manufacturing solutions. And as a result, the two primary industries we support are healthcare and aerospace. In healthcare, we support blood processing, surgical robotics, orthopedics, and a variety of precision instrumentation. And in aerospace, we support a variety of startups helping to rebuild the US industrial base and fast growth areas like satellite constellations and space launch vehicles. One of the tenets that we manage Hirsch through is the idea that we are defined and created as a company by the needs of the market and the budget of our customer. We want to be very customer-centric. And I'm proud that we've continuously invested for the long term in the company. One of the aspects of flexible manufacturing as a mindset that I would share is that it's beyond investing in hardware. Flexible manufacturing is as much a mindset. And we think about flexible manufacturing not just in terms of our hardware, but the investments we make to strengthen capabilities and systems and processes that support being both fast and agile. And you can see a couple of these points along the way for us. We've developed greater domain expertise for customers. At Hirsch, we want to be technically competent, easy to work with, and fast. We differentiate ourselves over time through a series of strategic choices, all shaped by the needs of our target customer. We began as a company in the 80s with the motto, quality work delivered on time. And that started with designing repeatable processes. And I would say that that's one of the early elements to our flexible manufacturing journey, is staying organized and controlling all of the inputs. Initially, high-mix automation began as things like bar feeders for lathes or standardized fixturing, and over time our investments have grown. In addition to that, we've established a long-standing reputation for quality. We now are technology forward as a company, using technology not just to improve the precision and the quality of the work, but also our customer experience. We have a culture of continuous improvement, which has led to our incremental approach. And we enjoy supporting the fringes of industry where creativity happens. In one slide, here is the case I would make for flexible manufacturing. The needs of the customer tomorrow are not going to be less than the needs that they had yesterday. I once heard the definition of insanity is to wake up each day and do the same thing and expect different results. What we have found is that we need to solve bigger, more complex problems for customers in the future, which means we have to figure out how to solve problems more permanently that we've encountered today. And that's where flexible manufacturing allows us to solve for stagility, as some may say. The idea that you control inputs so that you can spend time focusing on other more challenging problems. We need high utilization economically, and we need high agility from a customer experience. Ultimately, what I can tell you is that at Hirsch, our investments in flexible manufacturing have led to lower scrap, higher on-time delivery, and higher profitability. To give you one story, over the past 5 years, if you compare where we were 5 years ago to today, we have doubled our revenue with a 20% increase in headcount. That's the broad headline of the impact that flexible manufacturing has made. So let me tell you a little bit about our setup today. We have, like I said, about 6,000 square meters. Everything we buy, really, since the 1980s, has had some kind of automation involved with it, whether it's on the turning side or the mill side. And today we have 7 Akumas in a 4-axis and 5-axis cell connected to a Fastems system with about 100 pallets. On that system, on the 5-axis system, for example, we produce about 20 hours a day, 7 days a week, and we think there's still room to grow. One of the points that I would share is that you have to get the fundamentals right in the organization before you invest in the equipment. The investment is going to be insufficient if you don't have the right culture, the right leadership mindset, the right quality systems in place, the right information technology systems in place. And that's those fundamentals, I think, are established at Hirsch. We've also got steady and continuous investment in infrastructure and supporting internal processes that en masse create momentum. These are things like zero-point fixturing and probing solutions. We also developed our own proprietary software, which allows us to communicate fluidly. As an example, as soon as a revision change occurs, the operator at the machine on the floor is notified to allow us to adapt and pivot without wasting any time in production. Some of these projects we're still in the process of rolling out. Others we accomplished years ago. I'll point out wireless hand tools as an example. This led to a 40% reduction in the time it took for us to enter quality inspection data. That's required in the medical industry. And so that was a major win. Another thing that we're continuing to explore is the idea of automated CMM feedback to the machine. Sometimes the offsets we make are perhaps only a tenth, but this is a way that we can demonstrate unattended control of a process. We've also been looking at creative part families. Some of you may explore a similar strategy. This is invisible to the customer, but allows us to maintain high uptime. Looking ahead, these are some of the projects that we expect to pursue. Like I said, we have 7 machines today on the Fastems system with 100 pallets. We expect to expand that. We look to adopt a greater digital tool management, more, for part families and for unattended production. One of the advantages that we found of the unattended production is the chance to train operators throughout the day. If I could suggest an approach you could take, it starts with process control and moves into automation, digitization, and ultimately optimizing everything for agility. What's most important is to begin by being organized with all of the known inputs. make sure everything is tracked, make sure the culture pays attention to those details, that everything is put into a data lake for analysis if you need it. That process will help you reduce or eliminate setups and achieve a first part, good part strategy. Second, some of the strategies we've deployed later on include things like probing and the automated CMM feedback that I spoke about. And then finally, we've used our proprietary software and a link to the ERP to provide flexible changes based on the customer demand. And there's no impact to the operator or to our on-time delivery or to our overall utilization with those changing priorities. Phase 4, which we really haven't begun, it involves the AI-based scheduling and optimizing cells and some of the broader cross-training of the workforce that we want to begin and continue. Areas of challenge in this space would include things like cultural resistance. What we noticed is that if we didn't take our team to other leading practitioners of flexible manufacturing, they really didn't understand the power behind these concepts. The idea that unattended time, or an hour in which you run more slowly but more consistently, is more valuable. By eliminating setups and by focusing a little bit less on individual cycle time, we can reduce the risk that the process would stop for some reason. So there's an education process for the culture, and I think we've had to help the team understand how unattended time frees them up to actually learn more, rather than creating a risk around automation reducing their work. We've also needed to improve our communication and integrate our systems continuously over time. It's a journey for us. We're proud of the achievements we've seen so far. Year over year, we're looking at a 40% increase in productivity, and we see that that's modular and scalable. I would love to talk with you more about this, along with Stefan Kemp. And I want to highlight, we'll be in the Fastems area for the next hour if you have some questions. Thank you so much for your time.